sorry.
It's okay.
There is side of what is the some downside of your background is whenever you are using hand gestures, those are not being captured properly.
That's true. I'll try to keep my hands down and not use this body to move my hands. No, it's
Okay.
Oh, I didn't notice
400. 400.
Robbie's very sharp.
yeah, it's true. It tracks you.
Oh
not
yeah,
so
I
good.
can see that your hand kind of disappears when you.
Yes, because it's a
Yeah.
virtual background. So that's why if you move around too much, it'll show and stuff. So
You might not be able to drink your bottle of water. That you have your famous example of drinking a bottle of water.
indeed.
No, that will be
Drink it, put
being
it down.
captured.
That's a metaphor for everything.
Indeed. Actually, I don't
Beth,
have
we're
it.
getting your phone a lot.
It's what?
I was telling Beth, if she leans on the phone, we keep getting the picture of her phone.
Oh, okay.
Really? It's just
Yeah.
sitting on my lap. I'm not anywhere near it.
Could you put it on like a table next to you or something? So, because every time you move
Okay.
your lap, probably it moves.
Okay.
Yeah, and you if you want to mute yourself, it's *6, right?
Yeah, I believe *6 will unmute you if you're muted. Like if you go there and you say mute, then because you can go to the upper right hand corner of us and it'll say mute. I learned that as well because you're the host. So
I know I can mute everybody.
Yep.
And then unmute whoever is, because occasionally I do that if there's background noise. I experiment and I mute people out to find out where it's coming from.
yes. Well, whenever the yellow block is up like that all the way around, it's like, oh, okay, somebody's speaking. And then you know that if they're not actually speaking, then that's where the noise is coming from.
Yeah.
Trish, is that better?
Oh, we still saw him looking at your phone right now.
It's okay.
I don't know.
Actually, Trish, you should switch to gallery view where we're like the Hollywood squares.
What?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can do on the upper right side, Trish, there's a little, it says there's a little box that looks like a keypad and you just click on that. It says gallery view.
Yep. And then that way everybody is, there's no like boom main image.
You
Now
don't have to constantly look at Beth's phone. I can see you. Because her green phone is just like dominance.
Yeah, but if you put it in gallery view, it'll be
Okay, so now what gallery view? Okay.
yeah, in the upper right hand corner.
Okay.
Yeah,
see,
and you,
now it's
Okay.
all of us and we can just kind of converse.
Gotcha. Okay.
yeah, and if you just want to see one person, you can click on speaker view.
Yes.
So I guess we should just go ahead. I don't see Keith around and I didn't hear from him.
He'll come if he comes,
Yes. He
Yeah,
usually
sometimes
comes later anyway, so.
That's true.
it's all
Well, I
good.
hope he's not going to be delayed or, because he got to see this beautiful thing that we've got here. And the beautiful John that's sitting there. Anyway, we're having a tough time around here. I found myself not listening to the news because it's just too much,
Exactly. What thoughts to accept, what thoughts not to accept are up to you. Maharaj says this. And
Yeah.
if you accept these thoughts and buy these thoughts, then you're purchasing thoughts that are going to disturb yourself. Why? It's an illusory world. So check in every so often, see what's going on. Okay, world's not ending. Okay, back to my duties.
Yeah.
And if world ends, okay, I'm formless. The body experience will be no more. Okay.
Well, doesn't look too pleasant for those who are having that experience right now of untethering themselves from the body because of, who knows?
Well, and again, remember, this is just, it's a dream.
Yeah.
You're not body. You never were a body. And when
Right.
you wake up from this body-based existence, you'll be back to your natural state. without all this disturbance of body forms and birth and death and all the concepts that came along with the body. Think of this body that its sole purpose is for presence, to recognize presence while using body form, to know yourself in a real sense, so you won't worry about this body.
Yeah.
Presence is the indicator of your absolute reality, the absolute truth. Presence knows itself through body. I exist. I exist as this form. This is the wrong perception. All my thoughts, all my memories, all my experiences are through the wrong perception of being a body. I'm not body. I'm formless. Formlessness, how you were prior to beingness, you don't know how you were prior to beingness, but you were, otherwise there could be no beingness, because beingness has appeared, beingness will disappear. That to which beingness has appeared and disappeared is your own self. This whole entire body-based experience is absolutely illusion because you're formless. Wow, I miss the ashram.
You can come to India, na? Once things settle down.
Once things settle down, maybe, I don't know. I think, and I sort of knew before I got in the taxi cab and bowed to Maharaj's feet, and he kind of was like, oh, because it was like gravel and stuff, but I was so overwhelmed with devotion. I bowed to the feet of the master. I said, oh, I just want to bow to your feet one last time. And I sort of knew that, okay, India experience is good experience, but that was the end of experiencing.
Yeah, nice. Actually, yesterday night, your devotion, that made me to cry for 2-3 minutes. I don't know. Uncontrollable, I felt like, I'm so selfish, and that's why I'm experiencing myself as separate identity for 2-3 minutes. Yeah. After that, again.
Well, again, selfishness, self-centeredness, unselfishness, all these are concepts that came along with the body. If you remain with the presence, that's it. Remain with your selfless self. Then this selfishness can be observed as something not you. Okay, there's this selfish body form here doing selfish things. I'm not that. And by remaining with presence, happily, the body will lose its positioning from where it says, I am more important than anything else, because there is no I. So this I no longer has a physical location to say, I am so important. Who's this I that's so important? Everything. So everything is either totally important or totally nothing. Both are false because you are not body, and the illusion of experience due to the impression that you are a body is illusion. This must be impressed. You are not body, you were not body, you are not, going to remain body. Body is not your identity. With the meditation, you remain with your selfless self, inviting the attention of the invisible listener, the invisible presence that knows I am through body form. Without body form, there is, but there's no knowing that there is. There's like the faculty of knowing, but nothing to know. With the stirring of I exist, so many things to know. You know yourself, and so many things come along with this knowing. But you're prior to this, because all this has appeared in your spontaneous presence. In meditation, you can remain with the sense of presence. You can remain with presence and disregard all the appearances, because as Maharaj says, the seer is true, the seen is false. Everything that can be seen is illusion. The seer is formless. The seer is the space in this room that's using this instrument of body to peek inside itself.
And everything it sees is itself, right?
Correct. And just as a dream, you create a body form, or the consciousness, whatever you want to say, creates a body form within the dream to see inside the dream. And the formlessness then creates a form to see the forms that the formlessness has created. And then when the experience of this formlessness creating form is over, so-called waking up or deep sleep, then you create another, quote, dream, the consciousness with this form, seeing inside the appearances within consciousness, using this form, and you label this as I. This I is the one who's creating both the dream and the waking state dream. This I that is completely formless is where waking, deep sleep, and the sense I am cycles continuously every single time it cycles. You do not think you are dead. These are appearances and disappearances, and you are the constant.
That's the mathematical way of putting it. So constant on that, all appearances are the.
Yes. And Maharaj says the background of every experience is spontaneous presence. All these appearances appear on your presence. They appear and disappear on your presence. Presence does not know I am presence. Presence knows I exist through the body. The space in the room touches this body and says I exist, but forgets that it's the space using a body form to know the sense of existence. Instead, the identification is instant. This is my body. I exist. And then there's mom and dad that say, you exist as John. And then John does all these things. So the memories are lost of being the space, because suddenly there's this new, and like Maharaj says, all the body-based impressions, impressed, impressed, impressed. Long association with the body creates this feeling, I am this body, labeled this, and this is my life. That's not true. You're the space in which all this is occurring, and yet you're not actually experiencing any of the occurrences within the space. Those are occurring within yourself. All the appearances are as much you as your dream. This dream is so, Maharaj uses this example so many times. This dream is so profound to really go deep and deep and deep. You, the body that you believe yourself to be, are laying down. Within this dream, a dream world is projected from the consciousness and the sensation of existence. When deep sleep is there is no sensation of existence. When the consciousness is stirred because of the I exist feeling, boom, a whole dream world is projected. You're in it. You have a body in it of some sort, a form, with which to use as a telescope to see inside this form-based reality that was created from the formless consciousness, the dream consciousness. There's interacting, there's speaking, there's many, depending on how advanced the dream is, you're speaking and talking to all these people, but they're all you. They have to be. And there's a you that's seeing the entire scene. So, and video shooting, as Maharaj says, you wake up, you say, oh, I had very good dream or I had very bad dream. And now, when you believe yourself waking up using a body form, you again are the dreamer, the consciousness, using a body to peek inside or to peer inside as a telescope what's going on in the form-based existence through looking as a form. And when this body can no longer sustain the essence or the presence, then you'll no longer be dreaming. You will wake up. Waking up meaning returning to your natural state prior to the disturbance of the experience, I exist, or I am.
And you can wake up while the body is still here.
Well, you can know that you're formless and you'll still have a form and you'll still be in the form-based illusion, but you'll just know it's illusion, so you won't take the touch and you won't have a mind that's impressing that you're a body going through experiences. But you won't cease to experience because you'll see a world up until the time that the body can no longer sustain the essence, and then no experience will occur. In reality, there's no experience, no experiencer, because you're formless. You can get in touch with your formless presence while using a body form. You can be with your selfless self. And yet, you will see things, like there are appearances before you. Now, it's not going to be so much as a life anymore, because for a life, you need an I am somebody else, and you need identification with thought and identification with you as living a life. So when you remain with your formlessness and you use the body as an instrument in the moment, as the moment arises to do your job, do your duties, do these various things, and then you're not taking the touch of body because it arises as a wave, basically. Okay, it arises, you do something, then you recede. And you're always with your formlessness. You're always with your selfless self. The sense of presence that you feel through body form. Once the body dries up, like we talked about, the rotten banana that sits on the counter and gets all gushy and mushy and drops, this is how this body will be. The essence will no longer be able to be sustained. You will cease experiencing the form-based illusion, because just as in a dream, when you wake up from the dream, you're no longer experiencing yourself as the dream body, so you can no longer see within the dream. Now you wake up, and here you are in the other dream. And when this body can no longer sustain the presence, then you wake up to your natural, undisturbed, all of everything with nothing other, no knowing because nothing to know, Nothing, nothing, nothing. Absolute reality. Ultimate truth.
So it's not even like when the body goes, it's not even like, what do you call it? The dream state. Because in the dream state, there is still a dreamer, there's still objects and that are believed to be real within the dream state. But if the body isn't here, then there couldn't be that either.
This all is illusion. All of these the fact is you're not a body. And all of the body-based experiences you've had have occurred within the dream. I am somebody with a body. They're not true. You've been disturbed by this appearance that's not true.
I guess I was referring to the subtle body. You know, that in a dream, there is a body, but it's a subtle body. It's not, you know, this kind of material body. It's just a thought form, right?
Well, but the thoughts create the form. And within a dream, in a dream, you can knock on a table and it appears quite real because you're within the dream.
Right.
See, we are trying to sit there and say, this illusory entity that's an appearance in the dream, when the dream is over, what will happen to that? But the dream is sustained by the illusion of being a body. And once this illusion of being a body is no more, then this illusory experience is finished, just as a dream.
As long as you realize that it is that, not something real in itself.
Well, again, then we're going into body-based concepts, and
No.
in order to have, I understand what you're saying, like rebirth, and that there's a subtle body that can take desires and all this sort of thing. There's nothing there. It's just that you are. All of this, and again, like Nisargadatta Maharaj says, the appearance of I am is the so-called birth. The disappearance of I am is the so-called death. The one to whom the appearance and the disappearance has happened, or so to speak, has been observed, is your own self, who has not been born, has not died, and the sense of existence was the primary illusion. I exist. But you exist, but that's all there is, so there's no need to know your existence. And now that you know your existence, you know so many things. But without knowing your existence, there's nothing to know, because there's nothing other than you, because the illusion of separation brought about by I am a body that created the concept of duality leaves the second the body-based existence is no more.
So there's no projection machine any longer.
Correct.
Because you need the projection machine to see objects.
Yeah, but then see, there's nothing. You will not have this experience, because you're not having this experience now. All of this is like a dream. It's a very long dream, and that's why we get so attached to it. Imagine if your dreams night after night after night were continuous and had a storyline. You'd be very attached, and in the morning, and we talked about last week, I've had dreams myself where there are times where I want to jump back into the dream right where I left off. It was such a good dream.
Yeah.
And we cannot do this because it's a dream. It's an illusion.
John, so taking oneself as the body is, creating the urge to seek the pleasure. During seeking the pleasure, I think the presence is being felt. And again, this experience of body thing will come back. So that means this, seeking of pleasure is happening because identifying oneself as the body. If there is no identification with the body, then always presence is there. Correct?
Well, always presence is there whether you identify with the body or not. It's just that you won't be using your attention to focus on presence. You're chasing after the illusion because you've started to objectify. I'm an object, therefore I desire other objects, whether they be, partners, or whether they be gold, or whether they be nice car or a better job. You're objectifying yourself as something that can go after other things or that requires other things. Maharaj uses the example of prior to beingness, you didn't have all needs, all requirements came along with the body. And you are not body, you were not body, you're not going to remain the body. So if you be with you always, you remain with the sense of presence, you remain with your presence. When I say sense of presence, that is presence that is sensed using a body form, almost like a touch, but it's a different sense. It's a sense because presence is you're inviting the attention of the invisible listener, and because you're using body form, again, it's selfless self-intoxication. Once presence is felt, which can only be felt when there is a body, because the body, as Maharaj would say, is the medium, or how you feel this presence, that you are. See, you are the formless presence. You feel the sense of presence using the body form, but in reality, the presence is everywhere on all things, but the misidentification with being a body, you can use that to use this body to experience presence, even though you're only experiencing yourself. And by remaining presence, if you remain, like Nisargadatta Maharaj says, consciousness remaining with consciousness, presence remaining with presence, and then you're sort of erasing all the illusion because you're refreshing your memories. Oh, so that I am that. I'm not this body form that goes out into the world and acquires all these things. And yet I can use this body form. I can be married. I can have a household. I can have children. But I know I'm not so attached to this form-based existence. I can still love my children, but I know I'm loving the self in me, or the presence in me, that is also appearing as the presence in children, the presence in wife. That, as Maharaj said, that's the true love. You love yourself most. And now you love yourself through the other objects, but not as you absolutely know that it's a dream. It's a long dream, that all relations came along with the body. All knowledge that was acquired while using the body is absolutely meaningless because you are not body. That's why many, as Maharaj says, many spiritual teachers will please the body. You'll be able to be in meditation and have a very nice experience. And many meditation guides will give you very nice experiences. But you're prior. There's no experience, no experiencer, because the body-based experience is illusion. The body knowledge that you acquire while using this body is meaningless and can be contradicting because it's not true or false, because the fact that you're using a body to acquire this knowledge is false. So any knowledge that is acquired using the body can be either true or false because it's neither, because you're not body. So we don't get hung up, like Maharaj says. You listen to this master and that master, and because the interpretation comes of I am a form, and I want to learn from these masters how to be enlightened or something, then I put a subject-object duality where this object wishes to merge with itself, but the object is actually just kind of a floating, I almost said a floating turd in the toilet, basically. You see, because there's nothing there. And these objects that are inside of you are trying then, within the bubble of illusion, just as your dream characters, if they suddenly realized, oh, it's a dream, and each one wanted to try and escape the dream. And maybe even they have a little ashram where people gather and meditate to escape the dream. But see, it's a dream. You can't escape the dream because you're in the dream. Only you can recognize yourself as the dreamer. Oh, okay. This whole thing is appearing on my spontaneous presence. All of this dream is dream. So I can sit in an ashram within the dream and remain with my selfless self because I know it's dream. Nothing is disturbing my mind. No identification is happening. And yet I'm still within the dream. I just now identify with the correct position of being the dreamer from where this dream world is projected. As Maharaj says, I no longer am identifying with the projections. I know I'm the projector, not the projections. The projections are the seen. The projector is the seer, and the seer is formless. And Keith is here. Welcome, Keith.
Huh?
I said Keith is here. Welcome.
Oh, yeah. I have my volumes down a little. I wasn't sure I heard you.
It's okay. No
Yeah, I had an emergency I had to take care of and got taken care of. And,
Okay.
but I was noticing today that I do kind of intensive self-observations. I do mantra too, but and I know it always ends up being expressed in conceptual terms because that's the way it works. But I was noticing today I could almost like see it happening where I go from it starts with presence itself is unlimited and it's formless, and but because I'm in a body and I have a mind, I can take the when I come into contact, when body mind comes into contact with something, it takes on it's like my unlimitedness sort of, I guess, projects or latches onto a sense that that there is something limited here. It doesn't think of it as being limited, but it is, because everything you focus on can only be focused on one at a time, and it's only there as long as you focus on it. So it is limited, but we don't think of it as limited. But actually what's happening is that unlimitedness is becoming limited, and then it takes the limitedness to be real, and then it automatically forgets that there is anything unlimited. But it's not hard to see that presence is unlimited. I mean, it's just so vast.
And that you are. All of these appearances and experiences are occurring on that presence. And when you pay attention to the experiences rather than the presence, it appears presence is limited. However, presence, there is no increasing or decreasing. It's only when the body object is said, oh, this is myself, and I identify with a thought stream. But like you were saying, presence is unlimited. Just as the water, I can pour water into a cup. It appears to be limited, but then I pour water into the ocean, and then it is no longer limited. It's only the appearance of something within the water or something within the presence that appears to be limited. But know yourself in a real sense, presence, that you are. All of the appearances are on spontaneous presence. These different various folks that you're interacting with, even when there's a disturbance, that's okay, because disturbance is appearing on spontaneous presence. And you don't get carried away. You just know, okay, always you're unlimited. Never is there a time that you're limited. There's only misidentification with some limitedness, like a cup that the water is poured into. Then when the water is poured into the ocean, there is no limitation. But there's no limitation in the water other than the appearance or the body form. And again, as Maharaj always hammers home, you are not body, you were not body, you're not going to remain the body. If you remove this concept of being a body, where is the limitation?
And that's why it feels, from a body perspective, that you sort of, when you do start to feel the unlimitedness and recognize it, you feel like it's something new, and it's something, that's new or something, but it's always been there.
Yes. Just like going home and taking the clothes off and allowing yourself to stretch. If you're like in a tie and suit, or women who are in their dresses and all this, you go home, you unzip and you take your tie and all this, you're taking off all this stuff. You appeared to be feeling these clothes and you just take them off. Okay, when body pressure comes, oh, no, I am not body. I was not body. I'm not going to remain the body. I'm the formless presence that knows myself as a sense of existence using a body form.
And actually, you were always naked, whether you had the clothes on or off.
Correct. Very nice. Yes.
Sir, then when there is no wrong identification, it is just like pure awareness.
Yes.
There is no knowing of that I am, even that I am awareness. You are saying that, you are pointing that you are the awareness. There is no that understanding, because that understanding happens when this idea or thought or mind is operating, when the words are there.
Yes. When the thought comes, I am awareness, then that's duality. When you remain with your selfless self, then there's no need to say, oh, nothing.
It's become, it's sort of, when I'm recognizing this, I'm seeing that presence is selfless, because nothing could, and everything that even arises in it, I guess, would be selfless also, but it just seems to be. Like,
yes, only with identification with an object do you create a sense of separation, therefore a sense of competition, or that egoistic sense of I'm here and you're there.
difference period.
Yes. That's what I remember we were speaking about a little while ago, that if you're ever in, let's say your boss calls you into a meeting and you're not sure how exactly it's going to go, you remain with your selfless self, and then you start to just kind of see that the space, okay, if at all I want to compare myself to sky or space. These two objects are within myself. This boss that's talking to me and this me that I believe myself is being talked to, it's one and the same. The speaker and listener are the same. So then there's no mind impression that there's someone else that can do something to me and cause fear or desire for I need something. No, I don't need anything. The space in the room is conversing with itself in two body forms. I remain with myself. And see, then you're actually seeing reality as it is, because you are within the bubble of illusion creating this kind of this play, and you're playing the role. Okay, you play a very nice role and you listen to what the boss says, but you won't have that mind flow. If you've ever been called into the work by the boss and it's like the mind flow is like, oh, what's happening? What is he thinking? Oh, I hope I'm not in trouble. And then when he says, oh, everything's going fine, then there's like, oh, I'm so relieved, everything's okay. This is the mind flow through identification. But like Maharaj says, if at all you want to compare yourself with sky or space. Okay, these two objects within the space is talking with itself. Self speaking with self using two body forms. So see what is happening in the moment without the body-based impressions of a a thought train about what is happening. Just be in the moment where you are without a local identification, knowing that both are your own self. And then, like Maharaj says, how can there be jealousy? How can there be envy? How can there be hatred? It won't even make sense. The only way these things will happen is if there's an identification with the body, that I'm a body and you're a body. You have something I want, or you might take something I have. Therefore, the fear principle comes in. Remain with your selfless self, and then you have selfless self-devotion, selfless self-intoxication, a fountain of joy with no material causes. You don't need money, publicity, or sex, or any of these things to increase your joy. Your joy is here, and you find that it's given away, actually, when you start linking the joy and the peace that you are with outside material things that naturally fade. I think in the Bible it's talked about when you store up your treasures in heaven, or when you have the treasures that can rust. So remain with your selfless self, and don't put your treasures in money, publicity, sex, because these things come and go. One day people can love you, one day people can dislove you. And if you're attached to the love and the dislove, or the hatred, then it's going to affect you. But if you know that when they say, and Nisargadatta Maharaj says, oh, they say, oh, you're a very great saint, and he's not affected. And they say, oh, you're a very bad saint, and he's not affected, because they're not speaking about him. And it's the space using body forms, and that's it. When there's a mind flow with identification of, oh, they think I'm so good, then there can also be a mind flow with identification of, oh, they think I'm so bad. And your peace, your joy, be happy, 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 happy.
Two things I'd like to mention. I noticed now that, at least today, that normally when I'm in an identified state and I do mantra, like I've said before, it doesn't always connect me to feeling unlimited, but I noticed that it does have that residual effect, or like a rebound effect, because it must be breaking up the identification at some level, and then it just comes through. But now that I'm getting a little bit more recognizing the unlimitedness as presence here, it's easier for the mantra to connect. If I start to stray from into identification, it's easier to connect with the unlimitedness through the mantra.
Yes.
And then I also, one more thing I wanted to add is, it just makes me almost want to cry about the beauty of this this lineage and the gurus giving of themselves freely.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. That's the selfless self-devotion that's starting to stir, because you're getting to know yourself in a real sense. And what you said before was very beautiful about you're naked, the clothes are layers. So, in essence, you remove these layers, and even though you're wearing these clothes, your attention is on the nakedness. You're no longer identified with the clothes that are clothing, so you're no longer identified with the body form, you're identified with the formlessness. This body is just the clothes. You wear them very loosely, but you always pay attention to the nakedness underneath the clothes. I am naked, whether I have clothes on or not. I am formless presence, whether I am wearing this body or not.
Nakedness always does feel good, you know.
Okay.
Clothes do not make the man.
Indeed.
It's been a little challenging for me because of the fact with the virus and couples coming in. You know, I have a lot of, I don't know, maybe 14 weddings or something, which are really kind of like waiting. And it's, I'm trying to, I wrote a letter yesterday to the couples, just telling them that I may have to postpone because of the fact that with the advisories out and so forth. So basically, I take it upon myself a lot. Like there's a lot of concern around the health of these people. I mean, they bring in their, grandfathers and grandmothers and so forth from around the country and so forth and so forth. And, with the travel advisories out and so forth and so forth, it's just like, it's been kind of a real difficult time to keep that centerpiece within myself. And, when I go for a walk or something like that, like I have this book, I got a number of books that I recorded, like one is Prior to Consciousness, which is done by Gene Dunn by Nashik Maharaj. And, I mean, there's a lot of consolation listening to that. Basically, it's just like, hold on, buddy, this is all happening, so just step out of it and, do whatever you're inspired to do and let it go at that. And just kind of like observe it, even what's going on within your own self. It's really kind of like up and down. There's fear, there's worry, there's concern, there's there's talking to people about their disappointment. Oh, I got to cancel, or like I talked to a person today from Philadelphia. Oh my God, I've been waiting for this for so long. And it's just like this is kind of like my particular sort of like situation right now. So. But I'm just trying to bear with it, and I do mantra. The morning times are good because it's very steady. I do like the meditation and so forth. Listen to the bhajans. Then I may go run around the neighborhood or something like that. Listen to maybe the afternoon and evening bhajan, and then some of the recording, and that's very helpful. So.
Yeah. Just like you said, do your job, do your duties in the moment. The presence is moving this body around. And don't take the touch. This is a difficult time for everyone. So you just do your job, do your duties. Don't take ownership. Don't take doership. Don't try to have expectation of anything. Just know that you're formless, moving about. You pick up the bottle. Now we're using the example Kathleen was talking. You pick up the bottle, you drink, and you put it down. 5 seconds later, you're not thinking about the fact that you just had a drink of water. You're having to call people. You could just sit there and maybe remain with presence for a moment, dial, talk to the people, and you're not bringing you into it. See, that's a beautiful thing, because as you're remaining with your selfless self, you're not bringing you into it, of all your fears, all your worries. Oh, how am I going to rebook all these people, or their income or whatever, all these things. You're doing it formlessly, without ego. You pick up the phone formlessly, speaking, and just being with yourself, without having to give anything, without an expectation too. Because whenever we try to move things around in this world, we automatically objectify ourselves as, I am somebody else and I want these things to happen for or to me.
That's a good point. Yeah. I do notice that maybe it's like a decision, like in terms of, you just have to kind of like put it out there, or are you trying to move it around? Kind of like, are you trying to push things in a certain direction so that according to what you think might be the best?
And think about the futility of that. Yeah. The illusory entity or the dream character wants to alter the outcome of the dreams. How? Only through mind and identification with thought, as I don't like what's happening. I wish it was happening in a different way for me. But there is no me, so how can you have anything happening or not happening for you?
Right.
Just lost the peace.
It's trying to keep that notion that this is a dream, and you do not control a dream. Basically, it's
exactly.
It's just happening. Yeah. So you basically
simultaneously in the moment, the formless presence is kind of picking up this body and doing something, and then leaving it.
Right.
We don't control change.
Right.
Change.
Yeah.
And all of this, remember, just like a fish in a fishbowl, making decisions as to whether to swim left or swim right, or whether to eat, have a family with this other fish, all of it is occurring within the fishbowl. So how much decisions can actually be? It's all the decisions that are made are within the bubble of illusion. So if you make a decision, there's no right or wrong. You correct. Okay, this was not so good. I do this next. Okay. And for my own self, when I have to make telephone calls or anything like that, and there's a possibility of kind of, with a job or something, I'll always just sit for a moment before the phone call, just like this. Just recede, prior to beingness, just the sense of presence. Okay. So because I'm feeling presence, I'm the knower of presence. Now I pick up the phone. I've
See,
cleaned. Go ahead.
you are saying you are the knower of the presence.
Yes.
So all this talk, you have been pointing to the presence. Now you are saying I is the one who is seeing the presence.
Well, presence has appeared. The sense of existence has appeared, and the sense of existence will disappear. Presence does not know I'm presence.
Like you are saying, you are beyond awareness even.
I don't know. See, all these things are in the body-based kind of concepts are labeling things. So there's no beyond, there's really no prior to, there's no beyond, these are only examples in speaking within a body-based existence. Remember, just right now, if you sit, before you say a word, there's the wordless state. Then a word appears, and then they're speaking using the instrument of body. But you're prior to word, you're prior to thought, you're prior to the stirring, you're prior to anything. And you know the sense of presence, you use recede, but only in body form. The body form is kind of the plug into the outlet in which electricity can flow to then do this instrument. Don't get hung up on knower and no knowing and all this kind of stuff.
I still think he's getting, me too. When you use the term, you are prior to all this. You're saying, using a word saying you, even though it's selfless, you. It's, but it's just a way. I don't know.
Because in speaking formlessly, there's you is I. You is everything. I is everything. And again, we're using the language, but we're prior to language. We're prior to the first thought. But to say you, I, you, like Maharaj says, there is no I, you, he, she, it, nothing. But we have to use language, even though presence is speaking with presence about presence. And there's no way to not use language. And unfortunately, we have to use pronouns. Otherwise, we just say the space, it wouldn't make sense. Language, we created the language. So, and that's why the presence has been labeled God, Brahman, Atman, Paramatman, Master, Buddha, whatever you want to call it, Nirvana. All these only, again, this is the key, they came along with the body. Maharaj will say, when did you know about Buddha? When did you know about Krishna? When did you know about God? When the presence clicked with the body, and the body-based existence was here, and there was then language to communicate with yourself in the different forms, all occurring within yourself. The body is a conglomeration of the 5 elements. When the presence is removed, it's a dead body.
And you can do all that without identification.
Oh yeah, and see the language, don't get hung up on the language. You say you're the knower of presence because you can know presence. Therefore, it's more subtle than the presence. You're the knower of presence. But you know presence through the concept of duality, impressed that I am a body. Identification with the body form then causes the experiencing of the illusory state that you get completely caught up in. But you're prior to all of that. You're prior to beingness. Beingness has appeared to that which you are. Again, the easiest example is dream. All of this is a long dream. I am somebody else. I am something. I know all these things. There's speakers and listeners. There's somebody named Rami and Kathleen and John and Manahar and Keith. This is not true. There's inanimate flesh, bones, and blood with labels on their head that the formless presence is moving about. Just like the electricity being plugged into the plug, and it runs the microwave, the stove, the refrigerator, and this laptop. And just as when we all leave and we're no longer experiencing this, it's like turning off this computer, boop, gone. All the people are gone. And just like in dream, when you wake up, all the dream people are gone. It's the illusory entity created by identification with a body. It's illusion, but there's a strong belief in being a body and a desire to protect the sense of existence that came because of the knowing of this body. That's why Maharaj uses the example of the ants. You pour water, the ants run. Why? Because presence in the form of an ant thinks that when the body of the ant is no more, that presence will be no more. Presence in the body of a frog, in a dog, in a cat, in a person, it doesn't matter.
Presence is neither here nor not here, I guess.
It's the absence of everything.
You know, John, it's about time.
Oh yeah, it's 8:25 indeed. Very great.
Thank you all.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Okay.
Jai Jai.
Thank
Thank you, John.
Thank you. Jai Guru.